back to that.
Okay. Professor Swaran Singh, I am not having a FOMO, but I'm just asking, why is Pakistan becoming important in this game?
I think clearly Pakistan is significant because first of all it shares borders. There is Balochistan on both sides of the border, and it has stakes in ensuring that it is seen actively engaged in ensuring there is a certain closure to this conflict. Otherwise, already volatile Balochistan could get into bigger turmoil in case there is instability in Iran. So it has clearly an axe to grind here. Second, of course, is clearly also enormous dependence, just like India, about 80% plus on imports of energy, and most of it from the region in that sense. And of course, the Islamic connection that it wants to reassert of being one with the Arab nations, and therefore is again something that it wants to achieve. One could also add the newfound friendship of Asim Munni with President Trump that makes him feel he can communicate between Washington DC and perhaps Tehran. Tehran remains, of course, much more skeptical of Pakistan. So there are, I think, a compulsion-driven exercise here, much more than ambition-driven exercise that we see now. The big change that we noticed, Karthikya, is that Tehran, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson, has formally confirmed having not just received a proposal from intermediaries, but also having conveyed Iranian response to these intermediaries. The spokesperson refused to openly say what the response was. What we read in the media again is a big change from calling for reparations at one stage, talking about because US had attacked first, they should cease fire first, or even talking in terms of all American bases disappearing from the region. It's relatively more practical language that we notice now. For example, saying they need the security guarantee so that it is not attacked again. It's also talking of regional security framework, which involves interest of Arab states to ensure stability in the region. But most important, I think it's also interesting to see how it is paraphrasing, saying negotiations cannot begin with preconditions. Then therefore explaining why in a temporary ceasefire, Iran is not likely to be expected to open up the Strait of Hormuz, which is a fundamental leverage that it holds at this stage. So I think very practical language is appearing from Iranian side, both in confirming the conversation happening and of course laying out conditions relatively more practical in that sense. We have, as you said, no response to that on from United States as to what Iran is saying. Time is limited. Within next maybe 10, 5, 7, 8 hours or so, there should be something coming out in open. And I agree with you, the language of President Trump's social truth is becoming nastier, which reveals, betrays frustration of pressures from inside, pressures from allies, and Iran, standing up front, almost, defying diktats one after another. And we saw 48 hours ultimatum was extended now to Tuesday. And let's see if there is another pause, saying that we have received a response from Iran and we are now studying it. So, certain amount of extension of ultimatum is likely again to happen.
Sudhakar ji, let me take a question from Professor Swaran Singh on an article you wrote. This is an article which Sudhakar ji wrote. He says that it's a BRICS disaster. Sudhakar ji's argument is that this is happening when we are the chair of this community and Iran is a full member, and we should have utilized this platform for a stronger voice against America. Is it possible?
I think if you look at across party lines...
Is it possible is the question. Is it possible?
Across party lines... sorry, I missed what you said.
Is it possible?
Okay, I think if you look at India's history post-independence across party lines, India has always been restrained and modest in such interventions in international conflicts. And same is reflected today. It's not that India is not using BRICS platform. India is connecting with various BRICS countries India has been able to set up the summit meeting for September, and that means a lot of other meetings to take place before that. And clearly, it's an indication that India is going to be hosting not just the national leaders, but all kinds of other delegations from Iran and from Russia, from China. BRICS, in fact, is often compared with what is happening to Quad, which again India is currently supposed to host the summit meeting of leaders, which has gone completely adrift. And in that sense, I think BRICS is relatively much more active as an organization, and I think also likely to be showcasing the fact that India is willing to engage China, Russia, Iran as members of BRICS and host them. And definitely, when these different levels of delegations come to India, including national leaders, these issues will always be either on agenda or on their mind to be discussed, on the sidelines, etc. So India is active, just like India was active in Ukraine or Gaza, where it's not doing grandstanding and showcasing publicly what it is doing, but it's trying to piecemeal behind the curtain contribute, and that's nothing to do with A regime or B regime or A conflict or B. I think that is an essential DNA, the way India operates in engaging and contributing to international conflicts, and that's what India is doing. So regularly now is India engaging Iranian leaders, for example, because that is where the core response has to come, because Iran has continues to say, we are not talking, we are not negotiating. That shows the kind of frequency that you notice now, the way Indian Foreign Ministry is engaging Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and the same conversation takes place when Indian leaders contact with several other leaders, either in the region or beyond the region. So I personally think it may be half glass full. Pakistan is often the comparison which is doing that grandstanding. We were expecting JD wants to come to Islamabad last week. Nothing happened. Iran is not showcasing great confidence in Pakistan. That's why Egypt and Turkey are involved along with. So that is one way of showcasing and sort of, showing that they are very actively engaged in this activity. India has a different way of engaging in such international conflicts, and that is the difference, I suppose.
Okay. So